Good morning, friends. Today I'm going to talk about some knitting decisions I need to make, mostly whether I should continue on a project or frog it. And this is based on a gauge swatch I should have made but didn't, and started knitting the yoke of the So Faded. So we'll talk about that. I have two finished objects for you, one of which I will be wearing early today. It is a little chilly out, even though it's only August 8th. It's starting to feel like fall around here. There's also some horsey footage, and a mountain lion makes an appearance, so stay tuned.
Welcome to my podcast. My name is Corrinala. I come to you from the Pacific Northwest, where I live with my partner, our two kitties, and two adopted Mustangs. Information about the Wildhorse adoption program will be in the episode description box. This podcast covers knitting projects, my horsemanship journey, and my other passions like vegetable gardening and bicycling. If you're new here, I hope you find the content interesting. If you're a returning viewer, it's always great to have old friends. The format of this channel typically includes musings on an early walk to the barn to feed the horses, then knitting content, some catch up on the horsemanship journey, and finally more musings or maybe a little bicycling footage if I was lucky enough to get out. Enjoy, and I hope to see you soon.
Welcome to this beautiful August morning in the Pacific Northwest. Yes, the lawn needs mowed. It rained a couple days ago. If you stay tuned for the outdoor section, I do toward the end of this podcast, you will see a day of rain, which was entirely lucky, I think, and necessary. It's amazing how fast the lawn turned green after we've had a drought for quite a while. I mean, we've had periodic rain here and there, but weeks and weeks of dry weather, which is becoming the norm for the Pacific Northwest. It's a little chilly out, so I'm wearing long sleeves and a fleece vest. It's that time of year where, at least for me, I start out with a shawl in the morning while I'm knitting and drinking my tea. Hello, Shadow. And then I put on a sweater. And then by afternoon, I want to be wearing a t-shirt and maybe a skirt or shorts. The evenings have been very pleasant, so the house hasn't gotten too hot, and that's been wonderful. Listening for birds, in case you're wondering about the silence, but the birds are, well, there's one. I think a robin maybe, but I feel like I have misheard western tanagers. They do sound somewhat, at least to my novice ears, somewhat like a robin. But my phone app, I use the Merlin app, and it has identified western tanagers in this area, which I have seen one. Because I saw a mountain lion early Tuesday morning from the safety of my dining room and office. Good morning. I have been probably a little bit more, well, thank you. Did you hear that, Winnie? I've been a little bit more alert about my surroundings. It's easy to get complacent, but something like that kind of wakes you up. Well, I'm going to get to feeding, and I'll see you in the knitting portion. Hi, friends. Welcome to the knitting portion of this podcast. I hope you noticed this finished object that I'm wearing. This is the Backlit Tee by Stephanie Lotven, and it comes from the Knitting Happy with Self-Striping Yarn book that she has. So it's made out of fingering weight yarn with the contrast color is the self-striping yarn. So let me stand up and show you what it looks like. And it has this nice little detail down here at the hem. As you can see, the sleeves have the same detail, and they are almost exactly where I like them. I mean, it would be okay if they were a little bit longer, but I really don't like them much longer than that because then I end up pushing them up all the time. So I like the way it fits. I love the yarn. It's superwash yarn. The self-striping yarn is Freckled Whimsy, and I can't remember what the colorway is now, but it'll be on my Ravelry project page. I have another finished object to show you, and this is what I'll be wearing this afternoon when it warms up. I'm going to the fair today. We have a small local fair that I'm going to visit because one must have their fair food. And it's a little bit wrinkled. I blocked it twice. So I blocked it before I sewed up actually I crocheted the shoulder seams, and then I blocked it again afterwards. It still curls a little bit because this is stockinette. That's okay. Maybe once I start wearing it, it'll start to lie flat. But can you see the detail along the neckline? This is all, again, this is the same book, Knit Happy with Self-Striping Yarn. And this colorway is also a Freckled Whimsy, and it is called Dumbledore Socks. I want to say this colorway has something to do with an umbrella, although I don't recall specifically. And then the body, plain stockinette, it's wrinkled already, is a Knit Picks gloss in the colorway Clarity. So this was a bottom-up sweater, and it just knit in stockinette round and round and round. And then you start, I think you cast on a bunch of stitches for this arm, and then you just start knitting and purling. And then once you come to, and connecting to this piece here. And then when you come to the neckline, then there's this detail piece, and then it is a similar fashion going in this direction. So it's really knit in one direction. So kind of a cool pattern. It seemed like the yoke took forever because it was knits and purls, but that's okay. I do have a fair amount of this Clarity colorway left, so I am almost thinking about doing a Stephen West shawl knit along that he does every fall. I haven't done it for a few years, and I have been making pretty good use of a shawl that I knit by him. It's the Exploration Station that I really wear. I pretty much wear it every morning. Green tea. I hope you have something nice to work on and something nice to drink as well, whether it's warm or cold, depending where you are, what time of day it is, all of those things. So let's get into the projects, shall we? I am going to talk about maybe the easiest ones first. So in this bag, this is a Woolen Women bag. I got their 3 months of their boxes while I was having some retail therapy when I injured this shoulder in January. And I am still working on the Buttercup socks. This is their the colorway Denim and Daisies, and I'm just working on the heel. I haven't been working on it that much, so I guess I'm halfway through the heel. And this heel is a little bit different design. It has like the slip knit, and then purl back, but then it's got 2 rows of just knit as well. So it does have a little bit of a, I don't know, I keep wanting to say feature. That I don't think I think it'd be hard to show. I mean, I can try to show you, but with this dark yarn, this contrast color did not come with the skein. I purchased it separately. And here's what the finished sock looks like. Super fun. It'll go in my sock stash. I knit with Chalgu red lace, size 0. Apparently I have a very loose gauge, which brings me to my next project. In this bag, my mom made this polar bear penguin bag, very simple drawstring bag. This is the So Faded. I gotta put this back before it goes in the wrong place. And then when I go to knit on it, I'm mad because I don't have the pattern. This is my Go Places project because it's nice and small. So this is the So Faded, and this yarn is also a woolen women colorway. I think it's Kentucky Derby. Very pretty. It came with a hat pattern, but I thought that this yarn was just too precious. So I started knitting the So Faded. I love the colorway. And I'm pretty sure I said, I'm not going to knit a gauge swatch. I'm just going to knit for a while and then measure my gauge. Well, that's what I did. Because sometimes, for me, that's the easiest thing to tell whether or not I'm actually getting gauge. And I don't have gauge. I measured it this morning, and I have 22 stitches for the 4 inches versus the 25 for 4 inches that it calls for. I'm already knitting a smallish size. I'm knitting the size 3. It may work out. I'm using the 5 size needles, which is what it calls for. That's a US size 5, 3.75 millimeter. You do put on a short ribbed collar, and I can certainly tighten things up. And you can see by the way that I am built that it's important for me to modify patterns significantly. So typically what I do is I cast on this, if it's top down, I cast on the smallest amount here so it fits in the neck. And then I increase to, I usually have to, so for instance, I wonder if I'm going to be able to explain this better. So let me just explain. What I typically do is I cast on the smallest number of stitches. And then I increase to what bust size I want. So in this case, I am going to increase, I want to end up with a size 3, but I need to use the size 5 increases in order to end up with the right stitch count for a size 3. I hope that makes sense. So I don't think I did that on this one, which I am now regretting a little bit. What I'm tempted to do is knit a gauge swatch using one of the other colors. Maybe this one will be a little bit easier to count in this colorway. This is the next one I want to fade in, but use a size 4, US size 4, or a 3.5 millimeter needle. So I'm not too far on this, and I understand the pattern pretty well, so it's okay with me if I have to frog this. It wouldn't be the first time, and to me, it's way more important to get a garment that I like, especially since I have been very thoughtful about this precious yarn. So that's what I'm thinking about doing with this one. Stay tuned. Chowgu red lace, my favorite needles. Sometimes I use clover needles for ribbing, but I have almost replaced almost all of my needles with Chowgu red lace. Let me talk about a project that's hibernating. I did work on it a little bit. This is the Love Note by Tin Can Knits. It's knit in this really, speaking of different needles, these are knit picks. These are a US size 10, 6mm. So I'm in the process of splitting for sleeves here. So I have the markers in. I decided to hibernate it and work on the So Faded, because So Faded is fingering, and this is fingering with mohair, which is very warm. And I figured I'm going to need the So Faded sooner than I'm going to need this one. And I already have a Love Note in another color that I wear sometimes, but it really is quite warm. This yarn is by Nativity. It's a hand-dyed yarn. He doesn't name his... He's a yarn dyer out of Houston, Texas. He doesn't name his colorway, but he numbers them. And he typically makes them in twin sets. So I had 2 skeins of this. And the reasons why it's in a ball and it's with its mohair is because this is repurposed yarn from a sweater I knit a while ago and then wore it a few times and decided I didn't like it. So I frogged it. I am a good frogger. So, gauge swatch. Yay for me. This is a gauge swatch for ghost horses. So it's theoretically knit in the round, and what you do is you knit the pattern, you cast on, knit the pattern, and then you bring the yarn around, and then when you're finished, you bind off and you cut it. So it's not a huge gauge swatch, but it did give me what I needed. And one of the reasons why I knit a gauge swatch is because I decided to change the yarn. So the recommended yarn is Spin Cycle. I have started the... this is a bag that was made by a friend of mine a long time ago. So I love this. So here is the contrast color. This will be the color of the horses. And let me show you the pattern. This is by Caitlin Hunter. So I'm going to knit a long sleeve one, but you can see that the contrast color is the pale color. And the main color I'm using is this Spin Cycle. So it's a stark purple. I decided that there wasn't enough contrast, and I can show you how far I've got. I haven't gotten very far. I'm just really doing the ribbing on the neck, but I can show you how it's knitting up with a little bit that I have been doing. So, not very impressive. I think these needles are 2.75, if I remember right. Chowgu red lace, of course. And the main color, or the main needles, I believe, are a size 4. Let me see, because I have them right here. So yes, size 2 for the ribbing, so 2.75 millimeters, US size 4 for the main, and it's 3.5 millimeters. Anyway, this is the color that I am thinking about using. And let me get the main color out again. much better contrast. This is a sport weight, I think. This is a sport weight. This is a fingering weight. But I have found knitting with spin cycle that sport weight can mean like fingering weight. And it's similar yardage for the same number of grams. Slightly less in this, and this is a Brooklyn tweed. But I got gauge. So I actually followed the directions. I did the gauge swatch in the round and I blocked it and let it dry and then measured gauge, and I got gauge. So I'm happy about that. I like this fabric too. So I have this many skein. I have enough yarn. I can't remember what I bought this yarn for, but that is what I'm going to use. And then this, so this was in my stash. I mean, yay, I didn't have, oh, sorry, over here. This was in my stash, so yay, I didn't have to do anything with it. Now this can go back in my stash for something else. So that is what I'm up to. I haven't been working on that one so much. I have been pretty preoccupied. I will avoid crinkling the plastic for now. I have been preoccupied with the Sew Faded. That's really what I've been working on. And then last night, I sewed in the ends of these two finished objects. So no knitting last night. Sometimes in the evening, if I'm tired, I will knit on the socks. So that socks are a great kind of wind down. Don't have to think too hard, especially this pair of socks because the foot is all stockinette. So all I have to do is pay attention to the number of rows. So those are all the knitting projects that I have going on. If you've been following my channel for a while, you will have noticed that I have done a Corrinna outside vlog, typically midweek. Well, what I decided to do is add that to the end of this podcast. For one thing, it's less work, and I also think that it makes winnies and knits a little bit more cohesive. And that's one thing that I've been trying hard to do, is to make this podcast make sense for people who like to knit and then may also be interested in the outdoors and horses and gardening. So I do have some gardening footage. There's some horse footage. There's the mountain lion that walked by here a couple days ago. And there's also the Ryan Rose Horsemanship Challenge that I filmed, and I will edit that for this next segment of the blog that I'm going to call the Corrinna Outside Vlog segment. It's really kind of a life, a life during the week type segment. I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you watch to the end. This should make this podcast maybe about 30 minutes, which I think is a good length of a podcast. Enjoy, and I'll catch up with you later. Thanks for watching. Can you see that maple tree shaking? That's Bragi scratching on it. That poor horse is so itchy, and I have done so much over the years to help him with his food allergies. I had him tested, I think it was a year ago spring, and he's allergic to almost everything that a horse eats. So his diet is pretty much restricted to timothy, flaxseed, and I think he can have sunflower. So no alfalfa, no grass, no clover, no anything like that. The other thing I wanted to point out is, I don't know if you can see from this video, oh yeah, you can see where Odin is, that maple tree that's turning already. It is August 2nd, so we've been in a drought, but fall is definitely coming, and I welcome it. Here's a little bit better view of that maple tree that's turning. It's growing out of a very tall, some kind of fir. I'm not really sure which kind. Probably Douglas fir. Anyway, on the topic of Bragi, the reason why I got him allergy tested is because he would just break out in like raw itchy patches, especially on his tummy. So I got him tested, and then there's like a series of shots, allergy shots that you can give them. The lab bases the formula on what they're allergic to, and that has actually helped a lot. So it started out by giving him a little dose every other day, and then it eventually spread it out to once a month, and now he's on a maintenance schedule of once a month. So he doesn't get the raw spots on his belly anymore, but clearly the poor guy still itches. The other thing I wanted to say is that he is trailer trained. He got into the trailer yesterday with my trainer, and she was able to tie him to the tie blocker and then close the divider. He's been so good. So the next steps for us is waiting for my shoulders, for me to become whole again, so that I can load him, and then we'll take him places. And so Odin got a workout yesterday too. So today they're getting just a pasture day, and then I'll do some work with him. Odin, I mean, tomorrow. And the last word about Bragi's allergies is that luckily he's not allergic to carrots, but he is allergic to apples. So any of the stuff that comes from the house is divided between them. Odin gets the apple cores, Bragi gets the carrot ends. Hey friends, I wanted to share the work that I did in the garden yesterday, August 3rd. So I set up this little shorty 3-compartment raised bed. It's a fabric pot sold by CaliKim. I planted parsnips, carrots, and carrots from left to right using the square foot gardening method. There's a new book out. And then I set up these 3 pots, which are mostly lettuce, I think. Lettuce and arugula. I can't read. Yeah, that says the lettuce. I'm not sure what the other 2 say. But I think greens is the main thing that I planted there. My basil is trying to bolt, so I'm going to need to do something with that. I have another little zucchini. You see that? And then my eggplant is doing beautifully. Let's see if I can show this. A little eggplant. Here you are. Can you see it? Here we go. Kind of the size of a small cucumber. So, August garden. Oh, I transplanted I had to repair this fabric pot. It's about a 30-gallon fabric pot. So I kind of franken-mended it with yarn, and I transplanted some Brussels sprouts and broccoli and cauliflower in it. And then here's my greens, cucumbers. So there's that little cucumber, and then I think there's another one in here. Oh yeah, here's one that's getting ready to harvest. There we go. And then this zucchini, I'm curious whether it's ever going to flower. And then my mint that I may have to dig up and dig out and do something else with, put it in a smaller pot. And then I have a cabbage forming. So this is one of these, there's 2 of those raised shorty raised beds. So things are going along quite swimmingly. Hello, little buck in the pasture. Oh, there's a doe there too. You guys are cute. There's that maple that's turning that I probably pointed out more than once. Morning, boys. Sitting here at my desk in my dining room office, I have views of important things. Deer, grazing on the lawn outside my window, and some yarn that I would like to wind up at lunchtime. Odin having a nice roll after we did some work on the round pen. Yeah, nice. Oh, feels so good. The deer are back, so I assume that the mountain lion has moved on. I also saw a bunny scamper by recently. Today is Wednesday, August 6th, and it is pouring down rain. I love it. Hi there. This is Odin the Mustang. I think you've all met him before, at least virtually. Can you come over here? And what I want to point out, well, actually, what I want to explain is that I am practicing for the Ryan Rose August 2025 Horsemanship Challenge. And the challenge this month is getting on bareback. I want to point out that I am about 5'8", and where Odin's withers are is like right below my nose. Now, there was a time, maybe back in the 70s or early 80s, I was able to jump up on my horse bareback. I don't do that anymore, and it's been quite a long time. So I know the challenge allows for the mounting block, and I admit that I feel like I'm cheating a little bit because I love to ride bareback. I agree, it's very good for an independent seat. It is also how I recently fell off in June and injured myself, although to be fair, I haven't fallen off this horse or any horse since, I don't know, about 2019. So it happens once in a while, and sometimes we get injured. So I am going to line him up to the mounting block. He actually really enjoys this exercise, so I will show you. Yeah. Shall we get going? Yeah. Here you go. Yeah, I know. You want to stand over it. You're so good. I do appreciate you, but I need you to move. Can you move your butt? Thank you. Yep. That's it. Good job. I know, you're so good. Well, what I wanted to show you, I'm not even sure I'm in the camera right now. Let's get up here. Okay. I think I'm in the camera now. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. There you go. Good boy. That's my boy. That's my boy. Give him a proper thank you for that. Okay. Would you mind stepping up just a little bit? There you go. Thank you. Oh, good. Good. A little bit more. Can you go up? Can you go up? Thank you. I'm just going to do the layover right now. Because I don't think I'm actually supposed to get on, but I'm going to. Are you listening to me? And he is like a big sofa. Good job. Thank you for being so good. And for that, I'm going to get right back off. Because I'm not supposed to be riding yet. Thank you, O. You are a magical horse. Yes, you are. There you go.